At 6:40 in the morning, the range hood in the kitchen sounds its dull roar on time, the familiar flow of water echoes from the tiled floor, and the entire house's routine, the moment of my previous life when I died, is reproduced to the smallest detail. I stand in front of the wardrobe in the secondary bedroom, my fingertips brushing the smooth, clean cotton loungewear, my gaze falling on the electronic watch on my wrist. The screen lights up, clearly showing the year, date, and time, and in this moment it unambiguously tells me I have been reborn. I am 22, returned to the dawn of a life completely collapsed, tethered by family ties. The door is gently pushed open, my mother Sophia coming in with a bowl of milk just warmed, her steps hurried, carrying the unquestioning command she has always had. She lifts the milk and places it at the corner of the bedside desk, her gaze sweeping over my still hands, her tone carrying the habitual instruction, with no room for negotiation. Ivy Lynn, hurry up to change clothes and wash up, I've already cooked the porridge for breakfast. After you finish, tidy the living room. Today Leia has to stay late at the company, Marcus has no one to escort him, she brought him over early. You're at home to keep him from crying and causing trouble. In the past life, at this moment, I would have nodded without hesitation, would have hurried to change, wash up, actively tidied the toys and snacks at home, and waited early for my cousin Leia to bring 5-year-old Marcus to the door. From 14 to 22, for 12 years, every weekend and whenever a relative had something, I was always the free, on-call nanny. I sacrificed chances to go out with classmates, turned down all internship offers, missed the golden time for graduate entrance exam preparation, delayed critical training for joining a new company. And even a 2-year romance dissolved because I was always circling other people's children, and it ended unhappily. My entire life had been paid for Leia's parenting freedom, for the family's moral compromises about kinship. In the end I wore myself out, staying up late to care for children and worry about household affairs, and when I lay on the cold hospital bed with no one visiting, my family still sighed outwardly, saying I was stubborn and inconsiderate, unwilling to take on even small tasks for relatives, and deserved to be alone. In this life, I stand still, not bowing, not replying, but simply calmly looking at Sophia. I won't take him. 3 clear words, without hesitation, without doubt, a calm tone yet with unshakable resolve, completely breaking 12 years of ingrained obedience. Sophia's hand, which had been tidying the scattered books on my bedside, freezes midair. She slowly turns her head to look at me, her eyes full of astonishment, as if she cannot understand what I just said. In her view, I am the most obedient, sensible, easiest to manage child from childhood to adulthood, the younger generation in the family who is expected to sacrifice myself for the harmony of relatives, never argues, and never refuses the family's arrangements directly. What did you say? Sophia frowns, her tone tinged with a disbelief that questions, Ivy Lynn, say it again? I straighten up, my gaze fixed on her, and repeat it, with no softening in my tone. I'm saying, today I will not take Marcus, and I will never help anyone take care of a child again. Sophia's face instantly darkens, losing the previously gentle demeanor, replaced by familiar firmness and displeasure. She steps forward 2 paces, standing in front of me, scrutinizing me from head to toe, as if she is meeting her daughter for the first time. Did you wake up early and start talking nonsense? What's this temper? Sophia's voice rises a few decibels, carrying the usual moral pressure. Leia is your cousin, she works hard and it's not easy, the child is a close relative, what's wrong with helping out? You've been the one who's always helping since you were little, why are you suddenly being so pretentious today? Yesterday is yesterday, now is now. I turned slightly to the side, widening the distance between us, avoiding her habitual sermonizing stance, and said, I'm not being melodramatic. I just don't want to do this anymore. The sound of slippers in the living room came through. Father Hernan had just finished washing up, and upon hearing the quarrel from the second room, he came straight over. He still carried the dampness from washing, brows knitted tight, and as soon as he spoke, he started fault-finding without regard to right or wrong. What are you arguing about so early in the morning? The neighbors are still resting. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Evelyn, your mother is right, it's just about having a child. What big deal is there that you need to throw a tantrum this early? Hernan spoke with a firm, even domineering tone, just as in the past countless times, without asking for reasons, without distinguishing right from wrong, taking the side of relatives and the so-called family sense of duty at once, and blaming all faults on me. In their eyes, my time, my plans, my life, were always inconsequential, always able to be sacrificed for the convenience of relatives. I didn't panic and defend myself as I had in the past, nor did I feel guilty in the face of my parents' criticisms. I simply stated the facts calmly. This isn't a small matter. My time is mine to manage, and I'm not obliged to bear childcare for others for free. Free? Free of charge? They raised you for free all these years, and now you're supposed to help the family out, assist your relatives, and still expect pay for it? Sophia immediately raised her voice, her tone sharp. You, child, are growing up more and more selfish. What's the use of raising you? You don't understand any boundary of family affection at all. The familiar moral coercion hit me, exactly like many repressive mornings in my past. In the past, one sentence like selfish or ignorant would plunge me into endless self-criticism, and I would immediately compromise, admit fault, and obediently take on the task of childcare, trading my concessions for a moment of peace in the family. But now, I didn't yield a single word. Having raised me and supported me is your responsibility as parents. It isn't my reason to sacrifice myself without limits or to take care of relatives' children. My tone was steady, every word clear. To support my parents is my duty, but taking care of my cousin's child has never been. Hernan's face cooled completely, his eyes filled with disbelief and anger. In this family, 12 years of obedience had led them to assume my efforts were natural and deserved, had led them to assume I must bear all of the relatives' trivialities, and my refusal was seen as a great transgression. I think you've studied too much, your mind has grown stiff, you're becoming increasingly inhumane, Hernan said in a deep voice. Leah and her husband are busy with work. No one at home to watch the child, you're resting at home, you should help your relatives a bit. Among the entire younger generation of the family, you're the most free. Why don't you take someone else? I lifted my gaze to him, hitting their double standards exactly where it hurt. I'm not resting today. This morning I need to organize my onboarding documents, and in the afternoon I have to participate in the company's online pre-employment training. My schedule is already full. This was the first schedule I confirmed after my rebirth, and it marked the beginning of the complete collapse of my life in the previous world. On that day, because I was forced to stay at home to take care of Marcus, I missed a crucial pre-employment training at the company, missing the best chance to secure a permanent position, and from then on my career path was rocky with no way to turn it around. And the job I sacrificed for was later taken by a distant cousin, who used this stable job to settle down and prosper. Even if I stated reasonable reasons, in my parents' eyes it was still nothing worth mentioning. It's only training. Postpone it for a bit, and it won't matter. Sophia waved it off nonchalantly, her voice light, easily dismissing my career prospects. There will be plenty of job opportunities in the future. Who will take care of the relative's child if something goes wrong? Don't be so short-sighted, only think about your own matters, ignoring the family's overall kinship. I looked at them gravely, fully realizing the selfishness and favoritism that lurked in their bones. In their eyes, my future, my life, and all my plans are overshadowed by the momentary convenience of a relative. I can concede, I can sacrifice, I can compromise, but I will not let relatives' difficulties go unaddressed even for a moment. Training cannot be delayed, and I won't give up my work schedule for taking care of a child. My tone was firm, not a bit of backing down. If Marcus is delivered today, I won't take him. Sophia's repeated refusals pissed me off completely. Her face flushed red, and her tone carried a strong sense of coercion. Evelyn, do you have to go against us like this? I'll discuss it with you properly, and you still insist on ignoring reason? This isn't discussion. This is your one-sided demands and pressure. I spoke calmly. In 12 years, you never asked if I wanted it, never considered my arrangements, only knew how to demand that I sacrifice, compromise, endure. I did it before. I won't anymore. Hernan raised a hand to his temple, clearly out of patience, his tone hardening. I don't care what you thought before or how you plan for the future. This child today, you must bring him. This is a family arrangement. You can't act on your own whim. The long-standing authority was challenged, and he completely lost his patience, using his role as head of the family to coerce. They were long accustomed to my meek obedience, accustomed to unconditionally controlling my time and energy. My sudden rebellion made them extremely uncomfortable and utterly astonished. The living room clock ticked, each second passing. The time to bring Marcus to Leah's doorstep drew nearer. What should have been a quiet, unspoken morning with only my silent compromise, due to my one refusal, was thoroughly stirred up. A small-scale dispute erupted. My parents' anger and preaching came in waves. They took turns binding me with labels of family affection, filial piety, and being sensible, trying to make me bow and compromise as I did for the past 12 years. But I stood firm, tall, with no sign of wavering. I knew clearly that this was only the beginning. It was the first step in breaking the 12-year inertia, the first step in breaking free from the trap of family ties and rewriting a tragic life. Today's refusal would completely overturn the family's fixed notions about me, render everyone's calculations and habits void, and also bring to light the 12-year-long silent exploitation, forcing a final confrontation and reckoning. The faint sound of footsteps coming from the foyer whispered from the corridor. Crisp and urgent, it was Leah bringing Marcus. The sound of footsteps in the foyer grew closer, accompanied by the children's crisp and noisy chatter. Without looking, one could tell it was Leah and Marcus at the door. Hernan and Sophia were still blocking the door to the second bedroom, their faces ashen, and they had fallen silent, though anger swirled in their eyes. They were certain that once the relatives arrived, I would, out of face-saving courtesy, eventually compromise. In their view, my years of played-down gentleness could not withstand the pressure of family affection in front of them. The lock was gently turned, the front door opened, and Leah entered with Marcus, carrying a breakfast bag, wearing her usual gentle and harmless smile. She knew the routine and changed her shoes, casually tossing Marcus's backpack onto the shoe cabinet with an air of rightful entitlement. "Auntie, uncle. You must be exhausted so early in the morning." Leah smiled as she looked toward the living room, her gaze quickly sweeping the slightly stiff atmosphere after the earlier dispute, but she didn't inquire further. She turned straight to me at the doorway to the second bedroom and said, "Evelyn, I've got urgent overtime this morning and a meeting this afternoon. I really don't have time to take Marcus. I'll trouble you again today. This child is well behaved, doesn't make trouble, you can just look after him." As she spoke, she loosened her grip on Marcus and gave the child a gentle push toward me. 5-year-old Marcus, spoiled to the point of wantonness, showed no sense of unfamiliarity and charged toward me, raising his hand to grab at my clothes. I sidestepped calmly, my steps not moving, my eyes calm and steady, without the slightest trace of the past indulgence. Marcus missed and stood still, puzzled, looking at me with a dazed expression. Leah's smile froze instantly, and she looked at me in astonishment. "What's wrong, Evelyn? Why are you dodging?" Before I could speak, Sophia stepped forward immediately, taking the initiative to smooth things over, with a tone that carried deliberate bias. "Don't mind her. This child somehow woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning and is throwing a tantrum, absolutely refuses to help you take the child. Don't take it to heart. Your aunt and I will talk to her, she'll come around soon." Leah's eyebrows immediately knitted together, the gentle smile on her face completely vanished, replaced by disbelief and a hint of dissatisfaction. She turned to me, her tone lightly accusing. "Evelyn, have you and your cousin had a falling out? I just worked overtime for half a day, asked you to help a little, is that too much? We're the closest relatives. When you were a child I used to take you out often." The familiar moral coercion swept over me, each line extolling kinship and leveraging gratitude. In the past life, I would always be trapped by this rhetoric, consumed by guilt, and forced to unconditionally concede. But at this moment, I spoke softly, clearly, tearing through her disguise in front of everyone. "Help is a favor. Not helping is a duty. Your being busy at work is your life choice, not a reason to dump the child on me." This sentence completely cooled the room's atmosphere. Hernan's face sank, and he immediately scolded, "Evelyn, shut up. How can you talk to your cousin? You have no manners." I'm just telling the truth. I looked everyone in the eye, even in firm, 12 years, since I was 14, whenever Leah has something, Marcus is always brought to me first. Winter and summer vacations, weekends, holidays, all of my private time is taken up by this child. I raised my hand to point at Leah, listing the past facts precisely with no falsehood. When you date, shop, dine out, travel, and relax, you always leave the child to me. On weekends you sleep late, binge watch, and rest. Taking care of the child's eating, drinking, washing, dressing, and brushing teeth is all my responsibility. I gave up the art entrance exams training, missed campus competitions, gave up several high-paying part-time jobs, and even last year's graduate exam retake was postponed because I was summoned back to look after the child, making me miss the timing. With every sentence, Leah's face grew paler, and her eyes more panicked. Sophia immediately interrupted me, eager to cover up the truth. Those are all things of the past. We're all family, why are you splitting hairs about it so carefully? Being so nitpicky shows how small your ambitions are. A family should understand each other, not just one-sidedly squeeze people dry. I shot back, shattering the double-standard rhetoric about family. In these 12 years, Leah has never said a proper thank you to me, never paid me a single penny, and even when I stay up late to take care of the kids and fall behind in my studies, you still accuse me of being playful and immature. She enjoys a free and carefree life, and all the troubles are dumped on me to bear. Is this the family love you talk about? Leah was left speechless, her face flushed with shame after a long moment, and she began to whine and play the victim. I'm not as bad as you say. I'm under so much work pressure, life is already hard enough. How is asking my own sister for help considered exploitation? Evelyn, you're getting more and more selfish now. With only yourself in your eyes, you don't understand a bit about family at all. Do I not care about family? I sneered, turning the question back on her. 12 years of my unpaid help are worth nothing in your eyes, and I'm just refusing once, and I'm labeled selfish and cold-hearted? Hernan, seeing the scene spiral, lost patience completely and pressed with the leadership tone. Evelyn, today you can't act on impulse. Leah has already brought the child over. If you regret it now, what will your cousin think of us? What will the relatives think of our family? You must take the child. I won't take the child. I was firm, unyielding. From today on, I won't help anyone take care of a child again, not even once. Marcus seemed to sense the tense atmosphere and started making a scene in the living room, grabbing a glass on the coffee table and sweeping it off. The cup shattered on the tile floor, water splashing everywhere. In the old days, Sophia would have immediately criticized me for not watching the child and forced me to clean up and comfort the kid right away. But now, because Leah was present, she could only swallow her anger and coax Marcus to stop crying. Leah looked at the mess on the floor and, instead of feeling any guilt, took the opportunity to press her point with a grievance-filled tone. Look. You're uncooperative and scowling, and you scared the child into crying. Evelyn, you're just so cold-blooded, making everyone unhappy like this? The child's crying is your failure to discipline him. The broken glass is your child's fault, not mine at all, I said coldly. As a mother, you neglect your parenting duties and constantly shift blame to others. Now you're trying to turn things around. This isn't grievance. It's selfishness. These words shattered everyone's preconceived notions. In this family, my meek, tolerant, well-behaved, gentle persona had sustained for 12 years, and no one had ever seen me stand up so forcefully before. Sophia's chest rose with anger, pointing at me for a long time before she could form a complete sentence. You've truly grown a spine. You dare talk like this to an elder, to your cousin. The hallway door opened as neighbors began to wake up to the morning noise. The early morning argument had carried outside, and passers-by peeked in curiously, faintly overhearing the dispute inside. The sight of the drama at the door made the prideful Hernan and Sophia even more uncomfortable. Leah, seeing this, immediately lowered her voice, feigning grievance and trying to exert pressure under the gaze of outsiders. Auntie, uncle, let's not push Evelyn. It's my fault for troubling her. I'll just take leave from work and pay reductions, and I'll take care of the child myself. On the surface, it seems like a retreat, but every word is hinting that I'm ignorant and unfeeling, pushing all responsibility onto me. Sure enough, Sophia was instantly furious, turning to glare at me with extreme insistence. Listen to yourself. Your cousin is so sensible. Look at you, selfish and cold, with no understanding of human relations. Today you must leave the child here, and immediately apologize to your cousin. Facing the joint pressure and moral coercion from my entire family, I still stand my ground, my posture upright, my attitude firm. I am not at fault, I will never apologize, and I will never take the child. Leah's faintly aggrieved sniffles filled the living room, blending with Marcus's sharp wails, instantly pushing the atmosphere to an extreme awkwardness. Neighbors' curious glances grew more obvious. Hernan and Sophia, embarrassed, vented their anger entirely on me. Sophia stepped forward, reaching to grab my arm with rough force. You insist on making our family look bad in front of outsiders, don't you? Apologize to your cousin and take the child away now. I sidestepped her hand, unmoved, my tone cold, hard, and clear. I did nothing wrong. I won't apologize, and I won't take the child. Leah looked up and caught my resolute expression. Knowing soft crying and pretending wouldn't help, she dispelled her faint grievance and assumed a forthright, defiant stance. She reached up to pick up the crying Marcus, raised an eyebrow at me, and spoke with a coercive undertone in every word. Evelyn, I really don't understand you. Since you were a kid, you've been idle at home. How come you can't help me with the child? I work myself to the bone every month, earning the money to support us, while you idle at home, and helping out is somehow exploitation of you? She deliberately raised her voice, speaking toward the doorway, clearly for the watching neighbors, aiming to solidify the label of me as selfish and cold-blooded. I'm not idle. I met her gaze and exposed her lie to the public. This morning I had to organize my onboarding documents. This afternoon there's pre-job training, no breaks all day. Meanwhile you, on the weekend yesterday, spent the whole day shopping, dining, and taking photos, had plenty of time to have fun, yet you had no time to take care of your own child. Leah's expression stiffened, her eyes suddenly flustered. She hadn't expected me to air her private affairs one by one on the stage. Off guard, the hard edge on her face collapsed substantially. Sophia immediately spoke up to help, forcefully whitewashing, a weekend of relaxation is normal. Who doesn't need leisure as an adult? Leah has a lot of work pressure. A little break now and then is nothing? As your cousin, you should understand your elders. Understanding is mutual, not one-sided service. I retorted instantly, if she wants to unwind, the price is sacrificing my own future and time. This isn't understanding, it's rightful exploitation. Hernan's face sank, and he pressed on in a heavy tone, enough. We are family. Nitpicking over this little thing won't end. It's narrow-minded. Today Marcus must stay. This is the rule. Whose rule is it that juniors must unconditionally raise the elders' children? I asked bluntly, leaving him speechless. There is no such rule in the law, and kinship doesn't justify it either. Leah, realizing moral blackmail wasn't working, began pulling at emotions, adopting a false helpless tone. Evelyn, I only have this one child. There really isn't anyone to entrust him to. Your parents love you and protect you. You're well-fed and clothed. How is helping me a burden to you? Even if you don't care about me, please, for the sake of aunt and uncle, compromise once. I compromise again and again, only to have you take more and more from me. My tone was calm, but every word stabbed. Last year when I had a high fever and lay in bed in pain, you still brought Marcus over, making me look after him while sick. I endured all day with no one showing any concern, and even a slight delay earned accusations of affectation. And a couple of years ago, during a crucial period of my exam preparation, you dumped the child on me every day. Marcus's crying and mischief wrecked my study materials, spilled my notes, and in the end I failed the exam. You all said it was my mindset, never once blaming the child. All the past endured grievances were laid bare now, without exaggeration or fabrication, all true. Leah's face turned pale and ashen in turn, unable to pretend gentleness and grievance any longer. She tore off her mask, her tone sharp. Was it just delaying your exams and a few trainings? What's a big deal? The child is still small. Being naughty is normal. It's too petty for a grown woman to quarrel with a child over such things. My future is a trivial matter, and your fun is a big deal? I sneered. You don't educate or supervise your child, let him disrupt others' lives at will, and yet expect others to be generous and tolerant? That's not the world's principle. The neighbor outside could hear clearly, the low chatter seeping in intermittently, and the wind had quietly shifted. People no longer thought I was ignorant. They saw Leah's shifting of blame for parenting and her double standards and selfishness for what they were. Leah, hearing the outside murmurs, grew utterly furious, grabbing Marcus and stepping forward, her tone rude. Fine. You're not helping, are you? Then I'm not leaving today. I want to see whether your parents protect reasonable relatives or protect the selfish, cold-blooded you. Sophia immediately spoke up, taking Leah's side with a clear stance. Don't worry, we'll be fair. Evelyn went too far today and must change this bad habit. The long-standing ties between father and daughter and between mother and daughter collapsed under the face of so-called relatives. They didn't care about the opportunities one missed or the grievances I endured. They only cared about whether they could suppress my resistance at this moment and maintain so-called family harmony. Seeing someone support, Marcus cried more wildly, flailing, squirming in Leah's arms, shouting incoherently, I want my sister to play with me. I want to stay here. The piercing cries filled the living room. Leah gently patted the back of the child, her eyes dangerous as she stared at me, certain I would eventually bow to family pressure and the child's cries. But I remained coldly detached the whole time, unmoved. Even if you stay here a whole day, I won't take the child, I said with firm resolve, leaving no room for compromise. Your time is your own, your work is your own, it has nothing to do with me. Hernan was livid at my rigidity and spoke sternly, Evelyn, if you insist on not letting go today, then from now on, you won't get a single cent of household expenses or living costs. The threat arrived as usual, exactly like in the past life. They were always accustomed to using control of my material life to force my unconditional obedience. But today is different. I have broken free from that shackles. I looked up at him, calmly saying, from today, I don't need a penny from the family, and I won't be bound by the family's constraints anymore. I'll live independently, self-sufficient, and your threats are useless to me. My line about being independent and self-reliant, not fearing threats, completely shattered Hernan and Sophia's psychological expectations. The living room fell silent for 2 seconds, then Hernan's anger erupted. Your wings have grown hard? Dare to throw harsh words at the family, act all imposing? He boomed, his face dark with disbelief. I've fed you for more than 20 years, and this is what I get, a sentence of not being bound by the family? I think you've forgotten your roots from all that studying. Sophia followed suit, her tone urgent and harsh. You don't want the family's money, what you eat and where you live? You're just starting to work and you dare to speak wildly. Today I lay it out here. If you won't take Marcus, don't expect to stay at home peacefully. The two argued in unison, still trying to coerce me into submission with control and intimidation. Leah stood with the child nearby, her expression easing slightly, eyes reigniting with resolve, silently waiting for me to soften and apologize. In their eyes, my independence declaration was nothing but youthful reckless bravado, unable to withstand the trials of reality. Marcus stopped crying, hiccuping as he reached for the candies on the coffee table. With no one watching him, he knocked over an entire can of candies onto the floor. The colorful candies scattered everywhere, rolling in every direction, the scene a chaotic mess. In the past, I would have bent down first to tidy up, and would have patiently comforted and disciplined the child. But at this moment I stood still, not moving an inch. Sophia instinctively looked at me, her tone laced with habitual rebuke. What are you standing there for? Clean it up quickly, don't let the child slip and fall. Let him deal with it. He knocked it over himself, I said coldly. A 5-year-old child can distinguish right from wrong. I shouldn't be paying for his temper. Does the child understand anything? Sophia immediately retorted, it's supposed to be adults looking after him. You're irresponsible and you're quibbling with a child. I have no obligation to look after him, so I don't have to bear this responsibility. I stood firm. If you indulge him to wreck things and always bail him out, you're the ones who've taught him to have no rules. The argument hadn't ended when two old, urgent footsteps sounded from outside. Grandparents arrived, having received Sophia's call and rushing over from the neighboring community. They entered without asking about the cause, and began lecturing me first. Grandmother Carmen walked straight up to me, a look of disapproval on her face, causing a ruckus so early in the morning, neighbors all laughing at us. It's just bringing a kid along, a trivial thing. Is it worth you tearing the family apart? Grandfather Harvey's face hardened as he spoke, pulling out the rules of hierarchy to pressure me. One should understand family affection and be tolerant. Leah's life isn't easy. You're free at home, helping relatives is your duty. Don't imitate those selfish, cold types. As soon as they appeared, they pinned me as the unruly, unfilial, selfish one, siding with Leah the entire time, leaving no room for fairness. Leah, seeing this, immediately played the victim, sighing softly, "Grandpa, Grandma, I don't want to trouble Evelyn either. It's just that work is beyond my control. If Evelyn is willing to lend a hand, I wouldn't have to waver." This gentle plea instantly earned them more pity for her, and their dissatisfaction with me grew stronger. Carmen reached out to grab my wrist, her tone coercive and inducive. "Sweet granddaughter, listen to me just this once, and I'll let your cousin take care of you for one day. In the afternoon I'll buy you new clothes and bake your favorite desserts. Don't be stubborn and throw a tantrum again." A familiar routine, lecture and pressure first, then use a little kindness and favors to coerce my bottom line, forcing me to compromise. In my past life, I always fell for this trick, being manipulated by a few sweet words and family rhetoric, quietly sacrificing my own time. I raised my hand to pull away her hand, my attitude firm, unyielding. "Grandma, no need. No matter what favors you offer, I won't agree to take care of the child, not even once." Carmen's face immediately soured, her tone suddenly severe. "Why are you so stubborn? We're negotiating properly with you, but you insist on not knowing what's good for you? Helping each other as a family is right and proper, and you're so selfish. Who will still care for you in the future?" Grandpa Harvey, seeing the scene, grew harsher and started moral pressure. "There's no room for negotiation about today's matter. This is something your parents and our elders have agreed to. You must obey. Don't let this small thing sour the relatives' hearts or sully the family's reputation." For generations of the family, old and young, all stood on opposite sides at this moment, with everyone's logic strikingly the same. My time, my plans, my future must yield to Leah's convenience. Marcus watched everyone contribute to him, utterly unbridled, bouncing on the floor among the candy, then raised his hand to grab the cup on the coffee table and splash it to the ground. The water spread, the sticky candies mixing with the puddles, the floor a dirty mess. Even after seeing the child misbehave flagrantly, the family still did not utter a single accusation. Instead, they turned to glare at me. Sophia spoke first. "See. It's all because you're throwing a tantrum. The child got scared and acted up. Quickly soothe him and clean up the mess, and this matter ends here. Not my fault, I won't take responsibility, and I won't tidy up." I scanned everyone coldly, publicly settling all past accounts. All these years, I've raised Marcus for free, cleaned up the mess, handled all the trivialities, and no one remembers my kindness. If I refuse even once, I'll be blamed by everyone for being selfish and cold. You're biased, tolerating relatives exploiting me, and you don't truly mean to treat me well. I pulled out my phone, opened the already organized records, listing the facts as simply as possible. In the past 12 years, I've spent thousands of days raising the child without pay, turned down more than 20 opportunities for study or work, and exhausted my youth for your family's harmony. This sacrifice is enough to repay all relatives. Harvey, enraged by my blunt accounting, yelled, "Raising you is a great favor. Do you really think this is negotiable? It's utterly irrational. Supporting my parents is my duty. Babysitting for cousin is not." I stood firm, my logic crushing everyone's arguments. I will repay the kindness, but I will not continue to sacrifice without limits. Leah, seeing all pressure fail, her expression turning completely grim, no longer masking her softness, spoke coldly, "Fine, you're firm. Today I won't leave. I want to see how far you can push this." The stalemate dragged on from morning until late at night. Leah simply called the company to request leave and refused to leave, determined to wear me down until I gave in. No one in the family shooed her away. Instead, they unanimously allowed it, directing all the blame at me. All day long, the air in the house felt stagnant. The elders argued with cold rebukes in turns, my parents ignored me with cold violence throughout, and Leah and Marcus rummaged around the house, leaving the living room and the second bedroom in a total mess. No one cleaned up, no one restrained them. Everyone waiting for me to endure until I compromised, to actively bow my head to tidy up the mess and take over the kids. I watched coldly from the sidelines the whole time, continuing to organize my onboarding papers and watch pre-job training courses, ignoring the farce around me. They volleyed insinuations and sly remarks at me, but I remained steady as a rock, not retreating an inch. As night fell, Grandma and Grandpa stayed over, clearly intending to press further the next day. They were sure they could endure one more night, and my resolve would crumble after breakfast, and I would obediently listen. Everyone was quietly calculating, using the family's pressure to force me back to my previous submissiveness. First thing the next morning, as dawn broke, the kitchen smoke rose on time. Sophia got up early to prepare breakfast, staying silent the whole time, but deliberately laid out an extra set of dishes, signaling that Leah and Marcus would stay at home. At 6:30, everyone gathered at the dining table. Plain congee, bread, and fried eggs were neatly arranged, appearing like an ordinary breakfast moment, but an undercurrent surged. The family sat neatly in place, except for my seat, which was left empty, the motive obvious. Hernan spoke first, his tone carrying a final ultimatum force. "Evelyn, after you finish breakfast, take Marcus properly. Let's end what happened yesterday, don't keep picking at it and make the whole family unhappy." Sophia followed with cooperation, soft and hard, "That should be plenty. We've already fussed for a whole day and night. Enough face has been saved. Relatives are relatives after all. Don't walk the path to ruin. Finish eating and soothe the kids, take good care." Grandma Carmen slowed her tone, feigning gentle persuasion, but still continuing the moral coercion, "Be a bit obedient. Today, take good care of the children, and the previous disputes we won't bring up. A harmonious family is more important than anything." Everyone cooperated with the same wave pattern, first elevating, then pressuring, trying to wrap me in a peaceful breakfast atmosphere so I would step down smoothly under the family's admonitions and completely relinquish my resistance. Leah sat with Marcus at the dining table, her eyes full of confident pride. She picked up the porridge bowl and spoke slowly, "It's so much better early on like this. There's no need to make a big scene. Evelyn, in the future I'll be busy with work, and the kids will still trouble you a lot. Our family should support each other." Layer after layer of shackles came again, just like countless mornings in my past life. They never thought to reflect on their own selfishness, only felt that my resistance was irrational, and my bottom line was willful petulance. Before anyone could continue lecturing, I spoke first, my voice bright, clear, and decisive, tearing through everyone's disguise. "There's no need to wait until after breakfast. I'm going to make this clear right now. From now on, I will not help Leah take care of a single child. I will not bear the burden of parenting for anyone. The 12 years of unpaid sacrifice were me being immature and yielding when I was young. There will be no more of that in the future." In one sentence, every voice at the table froze instantly. I looked up at my family, their faces shocked and Leah's smug grin, and spoke each word clearly, exposing everyone's selfish calculations in public. "All of you, while enjoying your own free lives, are squeezing my time and my future. To maintain your so-called relatives' harmony, you sacrifice my life at will, treat my contributions as a given, and treat my refusals as cold-blooded selfishness. You, Leah, playing around, shirking your parenting responsibilities, you pretend not to notice. The elders' double standards, moral coercion, you take as normal. Parents valuing kinship over their children, always making me suffer to please others, you take for granted. This 12-year-long unilateral sacrifice ends today. As soon as the words fell, the dining table exploded in uproar. Hernan slammed the table, the chopsticks clattered with a shrill noise, and the anger surged to the limit. How dare you? Spouting nonsense early in the morning, daring to accuse elders in public and condemn the family. You've really lost all propriety. Sophia's face turned pale, then a torrent of fury surged up, and she shouted, "We've raised you with hard work, we've done everything for the family, yet you hit back at us. Have you sold your conscience to the dogs?" Grandfather and grandmother straightened up, their faces full of anger, pointing at me and scolding me, denouncing me as unfilial, selfish, ungrateful. Leah tore off the disguise of softness, slammed the chopsticks and bowls down hard, and cried out sharply, "Evelyn, you're too cruel. I only asked you to do a small favor, and you smeared everyone. You just can't stand seeing me do well, you're targeting me on purpose." Marcus, frightened by the adult's anger, cried out again, his voice piercing the room. The scolding, crying, child's cries, and the sound of furniture clattering intertwined, completely shattering the breakfast's calm. After the breakfast table farce, the room was full of curses and cries that refused to fade. The whole family tore off their facades, no longer bothering to maintain even a trace of warmth. Hernan's chest heaved violently, his eyes fixed on me with an ice-cold tone. "Since you insist on drawing a line with the family, don't blame us for being ruthless. From today, no one in this house will take care of you, and you won't be able to take advantage of us either." Sophia immediately agreed, her voice sharp, "Raising a cold-blooded, unfilial daughter like you is the biggest mistake of our lives. Today's matter, we'll make it clear to all our relatives and friends, let everyone judge, and see how selfish and willful you are." Knowing they had no ground, they planned to mobilize public opinion, smear my reputation, and hide the family's double standards and exploitation. Leah heard this, instantly steadied herself, stopped crying, eyes full of shadow, evidently sure that public opinion could force me to bow and compromise. In just half an hour, Sophia dialed several friends and relatives, exaggerating on the microphone, reversing black and white. She didn't mention the years of pressuring me to raise the child for free, sacrificing my future. She only cried about my ingratitude, cold-blooded selfishness, and turning on people over a minor quarrel with a relative. Grandpa and Grandma also contacted relatives back home, sighing on the phone, deliberately portraying my rebellious disobedience, casting themselves as the wronged, tolerant elders, and shifting all blame onto me. Soon, calls from neighbors and friends flooded in. Many of them had been misled by one-sided remarks and message to advise me to be sensible and yield, not to break the hearts of the family and relatives. Watching them handle public opinion so deftly, turning black into white, I felt no panic at all. In my past life, I was trapped by this publicity lock, pointed at by netizens and friends, bearing years of accusations of disloyalty and selfishness, forced to compromise and yield again and again, draining half my life. But in this life, I had long prepared all the evidence, waiting for them to push their hype, and I would turn the tables and settle all old accounts. I pulled out my phone, opened long-stored recordings, chat histories, and time logs, all muted, organizing years of grievances and sacrifices clearly. Since I was 14, when I was first forced to raise a child, I had kept yearly records of parenting time, missed exams and jobs, personal items damaged by Marcus, late-night chats about caring for the child while sick, and years of moral coercion by family and Leah's deliberate buck-passing, all intact. Before they could smear me further, I forwarded all the organized evidence to the family group with one click. No extra emotional words. I attached just a short, straightforward note: 12 years of unpaid childcare for Leah, sacrificing studies, jobs, and personal time countless times, with no compensation and no thanks. Today I first refused to take care of the child, and the entire family has smeared me and pressured me with public opinion. The truth will be proven by the evidence. The moment the message was sent, the noisy family group fell silent. Friends who had been misled by one-sided remarks and were ready to encourage reconciliation and criticize me were all quiet. I took advantage of the moment, concisely presenting the evidence point by point. The previous year, being bedridden with a high fever yet forcibly arranged to take care of the child. The critical exam period disrupted by Marcus sabotaging the materials. Several missed training opportunities due to being forced to care for the child at the last minute. Leah's long-term screenshots and records of eating, drinking, and play while neglecting parenting, clearly disclosed one by one. The complete timeline and solid evidence completely shattered the family's and Leah's false claims. Sophia, who had been calling to smear me on the phone, glanced at the phone messages, her face turning chalk white, her hand trembling, unable to utter another smear. Hernan quickly opened the group chat, and after seeing all the evidence, his previously grim face lost all its composure, and he looked both flustered and embarrassed. Leah hurriedly grabbed the phone, scrolling through the messages one by one. Her face shifted from smug to panicked, then finally turned deathly pale. She never expected that I, who had always been mild-mannered and patient, would quietly preserve all the evidence for so many years, cutting off all her desperate bids for sympathy with precision. The family group's public opinion completely reversed. Accusations from relatives and friends rained down. Hernan and Sophia lost face entirely, remaining silent and cold throughout, no longer daring to argue back. Leah was even left speechless by the barrage, her heart full of dissatisfaction and anger with nowhere to vent it, quietly growing a motive for revenge. She was not willing to see her years of shifting blame and scheming come to nothing, nor she was willing to be exposed publicly by me and become the butt of the entire clan's jokes. After a brief moment of panic, Leah suppressed the mess and silently tucked away her phone, putting on an expression of sudden realization and magnanimous retreat to ease the atmosphere, feigning a conciliatory tone. I was reckless for a moment. I shouldn't have troubled Evelyn, and I shouldn't have argued blindly. Let's drop this now. I won't trouble her again to bring the child. This pretense of retreat, looking like an admission of fault, was actually aimed at quick closure, stopping the public discussion and secretly planning revenge later. The whole family, pressed by public opinion, fell silent and defaulted to this false reconciliation, intending to turn the page quietly and preserve the last shred of face. I watched coldly and did not respond. I knew that with Leah's narrow, selfish nature, she would not concede easily, and this farce had not ended. Sure enough, in the afternoon that day, Leah began to scheme in the shadows. She knew I had just joined the company, my footing was unstable, and I valued this job greatly, so she decided to start with my career, forcing me to compromise and yield. She secretly added my company's leader on WhatsApp, anonymously sending false information, maliciously rumor-mongering that I was solitary, temperamental, indifferent to others, selfish and cold-blooded. And even fabricated false facts that I often caused trouble, clashed with elders, to smear my character and temperament, in an attempt to make the company biased against me, resulting in dismissal or suppression. Not only that, she privately contacted several familiar relatives and friends, crazily spreading twisted versions, claiming I was unfilial and disloyal, for personal gain, severing kinship, ruining my reputation everywhere, hoping to create a second wave of public pressure. In just one afternoon, many unaware friends sent messages asking about the situation, their tone full of probing and doubt. The company's HR also sent messages asking me to make time to discuss personal conduct issues. Upon learning of Leah's actions, Sophia and Hernan knew her methods were vile, yet pretended not to notice, even secretly tolerating it, eager for me to be pressured at work, to have no way out, and finally to bow my head and admit fault, returning to the previous submissive state. Faced with this malicious revenge, I did not panic at all. At the very beginning of my rebirth, I anticipated Leah's inability to bear losing and her grudge-holding temperament, and prepared in advance. I immediately sorted the evidence, compiling chat screenshots of Leah's private fabrications, sources of anonymous defamation messages, and records of her daily indulgence, avoidance of parenting, and consistently shifting the blame to me, all into a dossier. I also preserved all recordings of her deliberately instigating family conflict and inciting relatives to pressure me. I did not engage in private confrontations. I directly packaged all evidence and sent it to my direct supervisor and the company HR, clearly laying out the full facts with organized clarity. I stated plainly that this was a private grievance where relatives refused help with child-rearing, leading to deliberate rumors and malicious retaliation to smear me, severely affecting my work and the company's order. All the evidence was verifiable, and the timeline was clear and complete. The company leadership, after reading all materials, instantly saw the whole picture. They not only did not doubt me, but also were highly angered by Leah's malicious tactics and explicitly stated that they would not listen to false rumors and would fully protect employees' normal working environment. After stabilizing my job, I directly forwarded all of Leah's malicious retaliation evidence a second time to the family group and to the neighborhood and friends groups, leaving her no room for mercy. In the face of ironclad evidence, everyone clearly saw Leah's true colors. She is not a wronged weakling. She is a petty person who cannot bear losing, who intentionally retaliates, with a narrow heart. After being refused, she did not reflect or repent, but instead maliciously smeared the younger generation and blocked people's futures. The originally already slightly subsided public opinion erupted again, and this time the wind favored one side entirely. All friends and relatives angrily denounced Leah as excessive. Parenting negligence first, fabricating rumors for revenge afterward, the means were extremely vile. Leah completely became the target of public vilification. No one sympathized or took her side anymore. Her meticulously planned revenge not only failed to hurt me in the slightest, but also destroyed the gentle, sensible persona she had spent years outside cultivating. Sophia and Hernan looked at the flood of accusations against Leah on the screen and could no longer pretend not to know. Their faces lost all dignity, they kept their heads down in silence the whole time, afraid to utter another word. Leah's slander fails miserably, reputation ruined, she loses her nerve to brag, and she slinks away with Marcus. The tense atmosphere at home did not ease. It grew more oppressive. Hernan and Sophia watched me with cold eyes the entire time. Their dissatisfaction and unwillingness overwhelmed my guilt. They offered no reflection from start to finish, not realizing their bias and indulgence were wrong, instead insisting that I didn't know how to back down or save face, which caused relatives to fall out and the household to be unsettled. Public opinion couldn't silence me, Leah's revenge failed, and the two of them finally pulled out their last trump card. At dinner time, the living room lights were dim. Hernan set down his glass, his voice cold and commanding, with one final threat, "Evelyn, I'll give you one last chance. Apologize to Leah voluntarily, continue helping her take care of the child as before, and I'll wipe the slate clean for everything that happened before." Sophia immediately chimed in, combining softness and hardness. "We raised you and paid for your education. Your meals, clothing, and living expenses all depend on this family. If you insist on stubbornness, from now on you won't receive a single penny for living expenses, and you won't be able to stay here either." They were sure they had pried into my lifeblood. In their fixed perception, I had just started work, my salary was meager, I hadn't stood firm yet, and I lacked the backbone to survive independently. If they cut off financial support and reclaim the residence, I would surely bow and beg. For years, they used this kind of economic bondage to push me to compromise and yield time and again, forcing me to live forever under their control and exploitation. In my past life, I was trapped by this chain, terrified of losing food and shelter. Forced to sacrifice myself again and again to fulfill the family's selfish desires. But today is different from the past. I am reborn and have already severed all shackles in advance. I raised my eyes calmly, my tone calm yet firm. "You don't need to continue providing living expenses. From today, I won't take a penny from the family anymore. I've already rented a place, and I'll move out tonight." The two froze instantly, their domineering postures stiffening and turning disbelief into visible shock. They had never imagined that I, who had always depended on the family and been obedient, would already be prepared to completely detach from the family. "What are you doing?" Sophia snapped, raising her voice in anger and urgency. "You just started a job. It's unstable, and renting on your own is expensive. You can't possibly handle it. Don't act impulsively and regret this for the rest of your life." "I won't regret it." My tone did not waver in the slightest. "My job has officially become permanent, and the salary is enough to cover rent and daily expenses. I can be completely self-sufficient. I don't need to rely on you, and I will not be forced to accept your moral coercion again for the sake of livelihood." Hernan's face turned ashen, still unwilling to give up the pressure, pulling out the parent-child relationship to threaten again. "Are you going to leave home and cut off your family over this little matter? This is unfilial. Everyone will condemn you as cold-blooded if this gets out. I'm not severing the parent-child relationship, I'm severing the bottomless sacrifice and bondage. I drew my clear boundary. I will fulfill my duty to provide for my parents, but I will never again take on the burden of guaranteeing for relatives or sacrificing myself for free. You can accept it, you can reflect on it, or you can remain obstinate. But from tonight on, my life is mine to decide, and no one can coerce or manipulate me again. This exchange crushed their last attempt to control me. The economic leverage and family shackles they relied on to restrain me completely failed in the face of my full independence. Sophia instantly panicked. Her domineering stance completely collapsed, and her voice carried a hint of panic. "We're doing this for your own good. A girl living alone is not safe. Staying at home, at least we can take care of you." "Your care is years of oppression and sacrifice," I retorted calmly. "I'd rather live a stable life on my own than endure endless moral coercion and one-sided favoritism." Hernan looked at my resolute stance and finally understood. I wasn't sulking or rebellious, I was completely sober and fully breaking free from their control. After years of authority being shattered, he was no longer able to pressure me even a step as the patriarch. I turned and walked into the spare bedroom, calmly packing my personal belongings. I didn't pause in packing my luggage, tidying clothes, documents, and materials in order with a blunt, efficient attitude. Hernan and Sophia were stiff in the living room, unable to utter another threatening word, only staring coldly as I prepared to move out. At that moment, urgent knocking echoed from outside, accompanied by Leah's panicked cries. When the door opened, I saw Leah with a deathly pale face, tightly gripping Marcus, her expression flustered yet a bit righteous. Marcus's eyes were red, dirt on his fingertips, his coat dirty all over. Before anyone could ask, Leah spoke first, her tone hurried. "Something happened." Marcus was playing downstairs and knocked over the neighbor's precious potted bonsai on the balcony, grown for many years, quite valuable. "The neighbor is downstairs making a scene and wants compensation." Sophia instinctively looked at me packing, and the words spilled out. "If Inez, you hurry downstairs to pacify the neighbor, pay and apologize to settle this." This line was natural and echoed countless times in my past life. No matter what trouble Marcus caused, no matter the reason or fault, the one who cleans up the mess, pays, and bows an apology is always me. Hernan also immediately agreed, his tone hard. "Hurry up. Don't let the neighborhood dispute blow up and become a spectacle. The child is immature. As your cousin, you should help carry it." They hadn't, for a moment, considered that this was not my child, that I had no obligation to pay for a misbehaving kid's fault. In their eyes, as long as it concerns a relative's trouble, I should bear it unconditionally. Leah conveniently stepped forward as well, with a tone of rightful urging. "Inez, now only you can resolve this. I just had a shouting match with the neighbor. I'm not able to step out again. Go downstairs quickly to compensate and settle it." I paused, lifting my gaze to the three of them, my tone cold and firm. "I'm not going, and I won't pay to cover it." The room went quiet in an instant. Sophia's brows knitted, her tone immediately stern. "Are you throwing a tantrum again? Do you have to shirk this small matter as well? The most important thing in neighborly disputes is harmony. You're being cold and selfish again? This isn't my business. It has nothing to do with me." I answered bluntly, "The child belongs to Leah, the fault lies with Marcus. Poor supervision and accountability should fall to Leah. I have no obligation to pay for others' negligence." Leah's face darkened, tearing away her disguise, her voice sharp. "Inez, do you have to be so heartless? It's just paying a bit of money. It means nothing to you, but you want to see me humiliated? You were the one who failed to supervise, allowing the child to run amok outside and cause the misfortune." I looked straight at her, every word clear. "If you won't take responsibility yourself, how dare you force me to clean up after you?" Hernan's face darkened, forcing pressure. "Why split the family like this? Hurry down to handle it. Don't let this finish badly over such a small thing. Because we must clearly determine right from wrong, we cannot simply cover for others' faults." I refused to yield. "For 12 years, I have cleaned up countless messes for you, and all I got in return was taken advantage of. From today, I will not take on others' wrongs." The downstairs neighbor's voice grew louder, footsteps clearly approaching to demand an explanation. The neighbor entered and saw the stalemate in the room, roughly understanding the situation. Leah immediately played the pitiful card, trying to shift the blame onto me. "Miss, I'm truly sorry. It's my cousin who's not sensible and won't help deal with the child's matters. I really have no way." Before she finished playing the victim, the neighbor cut in directly, speaking justly. "No need to drag others in. You brought the child. You're the guardian. You broke my bonsai, so you should pay the full price." The neighbor turned to me, with a look of approval. "I understand clearly, you didn't bring the child, and you weren't supervising him at all. This isn't your business. You know your place, have proper values, there's no need to take the blame for others' dereliction of duty." In just a few short sentences, this completely punctured the moral coercion from family and Leah. Neighbors who had gathered to watch also came over, and after seeing the truth, they openly said that the elders favored their own, that the parents failed in their duties, and no one thought I was being childish anymore. The bonsai scandal has ended, the bystander crowd from the neighborhood gradually dispersed, but rumors and judgments have been left behind in full. The entire building, within the relatives' circle, clearly knows the full picture of this incident. It is about Leah's parenting negligence and condoning the kids' mischief, about parents habitually siding with and pressuring the younger generation to bear the consequences. I, from beginning to end, remained innocent and faultless, only upholding my own bottom line. Earlier, the negative labels in my family and Leah's circle, Evelyn is cold-blooded and unfilial, selfish and willful, had been torn apart completely. Everyone's views inverted, and no one believed their one-sided slander anymore. In just half a day, the opinions of family and friends, neighbors and acquaintances had completely shifted. In private conversations, people no longer blamed me for being immature. Instead, they reflected on how I had endured and felt wronged for years, exploited by my family and relatives, and now it's just about stopping the loss in time and protecting myself clearly. In contrast, Hernan, Sophia, and Leah had become the focal points of private discussion. Everyone saw their double standards and selfishness, taking advantage of kinship to oppress the younger generation at will. 3 people as previously enlightened elder and gentle image had collapsed completely. The first to be unable to bear the pressure of public opinion were the grandparents. The elderly couple already placed great importance on family reputation. The day's uproars, the ever-changing word of mouth, and the constant private inquiries from friends and relatives left them utterly without backing. The prior sermons and assertiveness disappeared, leaving only a feeling of awkwardness. That evening, the grandparents take the initiative to pay a visit. Not mentioning the binding rhetoric of elder respect or familial tolerance, lowering their stance throughout. Carmen looked at me, her tone bearing clear compromise and apology. "Evelyn, we were foolish before, biased and partial, unable to distinguish right from wrong. You were wronged." Harvey also shed his former majesty, honestly admitting fault. "This is not your fault from start to finish. Leah was too selfish, we and your parents were too biased, forcing you to yield, and that was our fault." The 2 elders openly apologized, breaking the family's long-standing tradition of never admitting fault. This compromise also solidified the verdict of right and wrong in the entire matter, and no one could doubt my choice anymore. Seeing this, my parents were completely isolated and without help. The continual confrontation, the reversals of opinion, and the elders' apologies left them unable to sustain their strong pose. People's fingers pointing and friends' private estrangement caused the 2 highly face-conscious individuals to lose face entirely. By nightfall, Sophia finally lowered all her aggression, her tone tired and awkward. "Evelyn, your parents know they were wrong. All these years, we biased toward relatives and ignored your grievances, forcing you to sacrifice so much. We're the ones who owe you an apology." Hernan also spoke in a deep voice. "From now on, your life, your time, you decide. We will never force you to take care of anyone's child again, nor interfere with your choices." This belated apology completely declared the defeat of all their moral coercion and coercive pressure. From perched above as controllers, they had become the weaker party who apologized and sought harmony, and the family's stance had been completely overturned. Leah, isolated and unsupported, had no family bias or elder backing left. And no more swagger in her. Seeing the family's conciliatory attitude, she knew she had been utterly defeated, her face pale, remaining silent throughout, no longer daring to utter another accusatory word. I quietly watched those who had apologized before me, my heart unmoved, with neither elation nor softening. I accepted the apology calmly, but there was no compromise or concession. Belated apologies cannot make up for the sacrifices and regrets I spent a lifetime carrying in my past life, nor can they ease the 12 years of my grievances and depletion. I clearly understood that apologies are merely their capitulation to public opinion and reality, not a true awakening. I will not be soft-hearted again or fall into the same trap because of a few cheap apologies as before. Thus, the entire multi-day family farce has completely come to an end. With steadfast counterattacks and unwavering adherence to the bottom line time and again, I completely reversed the situation, tore apart the distorted familial shackles, won back control of my own life, and brought the final new life to a successful close.